Okay, now it looks like we're actually live this time. So, hello everybody and welcome to the final round of GPL's GT500 series. This is round 6, and we are going to conclude this finale here at Suzuka, an iconic track. I'm B23, and I'm here with Rekus once again, and he will take it away with some track information about Suzuka.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I will join my co-host B23 and welcoming you guys back to Grand Prestige League season finale. And we got a good one for you here, folks. Suzuka is one of the most famous tracks in the world, especially in Japan. It is raced in quite a few different series: Super GT, Formula One, Super Formula, and a lot of other racing series. Now, some track-specific details. This track is 5.8 kilometers long, 3.6 miles. With 17 turns and a mid-speed BOP. This track has a little bit of everything. It's one of the only tracks in the world to have basically a figure-8 track layout and design. And this track is a lot trickier than it looks, and it already looks pretty tricky as is. And honestly, I think this is one of the trickiest tracks to master in Gran Turismo. We have some excellent cars here today. As you guys might already know, if you guys are nerds about the stats, trust me, I am too. Whiteout will not be racing today because, regardless, he's already champion of the world in GT500 series, so congratulations to him. I believe he only lost one singular race, and that was to Nicholas Boita earlier on in the season at Watkins Glen, being the only non-Honda winner that we've had so far.
That's right. Big congratulations to Whiteout, as he's in the chat right now saying good morning to us. So good morning to the champion of the world, Whiteout. It's been an excellent season for him, and even that one win that he didn't win was mostly down to strategy. If it was just based on pure pace, he probably would have picked up the win there as well.
But pace is only half the battle.
Outstanding season by Whiteout, and good to see that he's watching our drivers today.
Indeed. Congratulations, Whiteout. You definitely earned it, man. You had a fantastic season, and I know you'll be looking forward to carrying that same momentum to the Super Formula Championship at the beginning of 2025. And we cannot wait to see how that season unfolds. It's going to be a lot of action coming up in the next few months. While we sign off from this series after today, we still have some new series in the future, including the next season of Super Formula.
Yeah, absolutely. This was our very first attempt at a series outside of the Super Formula format, but our main bread and butter is the Super Formula series, and that is coming up in January, just 1 month away. It's been a really long off season, but we've kept action going in between for you guys to hold you over. But the real main series of this league is coming soon, so you're going to want to make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram at Grand Prestige League to make sure that you are there for the beginning round so you can catch the whole season, because it's going to be very dramatic. I could guarantee that much.
Do we have a current idea of the upcoming calendar for Super Formula? Because
the calendar is not out yet. I'm sure, of course, the handful of traditional circuits you expect are all going to be there. I'm sure we're going to see this track, Suzuka. We're going to see Spa, Monza, probably. All the typical ones. Last year, we even threw in a couple of tracks that I wasn't expecting to see, such as Grand Valley, as that was a brand new track at the time, and it actually raced a lot better than I was expecting it to with the Super Formula car. So we might see a couple of surprise tracks included as well. You never know.
If the commentators are allowed to get a track that they want to see, what would your track be? What's one track you would absolutely love to see in the upcoming season?
I'm not even going to say I'm the only person that would think this, but I like the Nordschleife a lot. I would go crazy there, but wouldn't be the best for racing for everyone else. Let's see. Honestly, probably Monza is one of my strongest tracks, so for selfish reasons, I would say Monza.
Yeah, Monza is a very fun track. It's a lot of chaos, honestly. Every time I have commentated or watched it, there's always been some shenanigans going on, especially in turn 1, lap 1, that first chicane. Always a center of just chaos. The game just becomes wreckfest for a little bit.
Yeah, it's bowling simulator into turn 1 every time, but if I can survive that, then I'll have a good race, so I always like Monza.
Yeah, it's high-speed track, too. Now, for me personally, as you mentioned the Nordschleife. I mean, and that wouldn't be a best track for racing. I would honestly go with, as my gag pick, Special Stage Route X.
Oh, yeah.
Would be my go-to pick. That would just be absolutely great. And actually, I'll say my pick real quick. I would just want to see one of the Dragon Trail layouts, personally, because I think those are good tracks.
Yeah,
or
that's
if we
one of
want
my
our
top
version
picks.
of Monaco, we can go with Jaeger.
Oh, true, yeah. Yeah, I would
That track
definitely
would just be
like
chaos, too.
Dragon Trail especially. I think that newest
Well-
one is maybe a little too small for the Super Formula tracks. I was doing the go-kart races there, and it was really fitting for the go-karts. So I feel like if I had anything bigger and faster, it would be a bad time for me.
Yeah, especially because it's a weird pit lane, because the pit lane's on the opposite side of the start-finish straight,
Oh,
which is
right.
something I found out. I was testing it personally, just for fun. But anyway, we are underway with qualifying now. It started a few seconds ago. We got 15 minutes on the clock for qualifying for the last qualifying session of the GT500 season here at Grand Prestige League.
That's right. Quali has begun, and these cars are already on track getting ready for their hot laps. Everyone here on a prep lap at the moment. I'm showing Yuki's car right now because he wanted me, just before the race started, he was like, hey, take a look at my livery. It looks like he put some work in. This is a Evangelion, anime-themed livery there, Project Zero livery. Very good work. Pixel on his livery.
Even in some
Artura,
other series
too.
that I've seen, even some other series that I've seen some liveries from any of the Project Zero drivers, they usually have some kind of anime theme to them, but they're also really cool. I remember pre-season of Formula GT, the Project Zero car reminded me a lot of the Chrome McLaren back from like the 2010s. So it was pretty cool. The Project Zero cars are always very appealing to the eyes.
Indeed. They do good work. We design a lot of our cars together. We always are showing each other our designs as we do them, so we keep the pressure on them to pump out good designs. Illusion here. Speaking of design, I designed this one. It's got some chrome on it, inspired by an old stop motion animation race car.
Yeah, stop motion
course,
is honestly very underappreciated in my opinion. It takes a lot of work. I've known people, some of the people I'm pretty close with, I met at my college, are really into stop motion. So that is definitely a very underappreciated art. I've seen some of the work that goes into stop motion, and you gotta have a lot of patience. Just like you have to have a lot of patience when you're racing here on a track as tricky as Suzuka.
Absolutely.
Because we're coming up to the famous hairpin on this circuit, and if you're too early on the throttle, you could just throw your car right off into the runoff and into the gravel, and you can lose a lot of speed, because right here is a very good corner for overtaking and absolute top speeds. Probably the best high-speed section on this track. And in a lot of cars, including what Lucian's doing right now, you could full throttle that corner, and you can make some very spicy overtakes on this track.
Yeah, and speaking of stop motion animation, the lag is actually looking pretty good out here, except Alex, once again, probably the worst off as far as his connection goes, but still better than it usually is, only jittering a little bit on the straight. As he goes fastest overall with a 148.3.
Yuki also will set a improved lap time now, put himself up into P4. Oita setting a new personal best as well. He's going to rocket up to P3 right now. A second row start for him. Aces in the Sonic the Hedgehog themed Acura also moves up into P4. He's got a second row start. And he's got probably P1 in the best drift we've seen all day today. Just
Excellent.
slinging it around that hairpin.
Yeah, that's a really good starting position. Might be one of the best starting positions he's had all season long. And he'd want to make sure to keep it clean into turn one and not lose any of the coins he picked up along the way.
I mean, then again, you do have... it all depends if Alex wakes up and chooses violence today, as
That's
he's
right.
done through a good portion of the rest of the season, as we were joking about a few days ago.
The chances are pretty good if he starts in P1, though, of him getting away clean. This would also be his best starting position of the season if he can maintain pole. He's proven that he's been very good over one lap.
But sometimes during the race pace, he just falls off a bit. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it is due to a bowling incident that he likes to go on.
Yeah, really good over one
good
lap, but not on the first lap.
I wonder if Alex is actually good at bowling. Yeah, that is a good question. We'll have to ask him at some point if he's actually good at bowling or not, because that would be perfect.
Absolutely. He's had plenty of strikes this season and might even bowl a perfect game if he can do that in the final round here today.
He's going... I mean, I think if he gets one more, he's going for a turkey, which is
That's
pretty
right.
pretty hilarious, because just earlier this week, at least in the States, it was Thanksgiving weekend. So if you are from the Americas, we hope you had a excellent Thanksgiving, and if you're not from the Americas, we still hope you had an excellent week.
Yeah, Alex coming through with the old German Thanksgiving turkey at the end of the season for us. Yeah, Whiteout predicting that we just created a commentator's curse, so we will see what happens. But see, maybe we laid into it so much that it did the opposite, so I'm not sure here.
Reverse psychology in the commentary booth today.
We'll have to see which way
for the most part,
it goes.
I think for the most part, we've been pretty good about preventing commentators' curses from being a thing. I don't think we've had too many commentators' curses throughout the season, thankfully.
Yeah, mostly just little ones, not like massive season-changing ones, luckily.
Yeah, usually something further back in the grid. I think the only time I can really think of even something that was remotely close to a commentator's curse was back in Mount Panorama, Australia.
Oh, yeah.
With the very unfortunate NFS-style roadblock that we had in the mountain section of that track. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
And, yeah, I think Whiteout is probably commentator, like, uncursable with the commentator's curse, because there were many races where we were saying Whiteout's, got a comfortable lead ahead. The only way he could possibly lose this race is if for some reason something completely disastrous happened and he crashed, but it never seemed to happen to him.
He is immune to the commentator's curse, but hey, maybe we can put that to test when Super Formula starts back up.
That's right.
You done opened that can of worms there, Whiteout, unfortunately. But anywho, we are still glad to have you around. And we're glad that we have these 9 extremely talented drivers taking it to the track today.
Yeah, we're on board with Illusion right now to see if he can take pole position here. And he just set a purple sector by 0.006 of a second. So he is pretty much exactly matching Alex's pace of his pole position lap just a bit earlier.
Very good stuff there from the Norwegian driver as he's coming through the last couple of corners. I'd say couple of corners because you got this hairpin, the turn, and then the chicane, and then one last corner. I guess it's more. You get the idea.
Yeah, last couple of real corners
of Suzuka. There's less corners that he has left versus the corners he already took, and that was not good English. I don't care. But what we do care about is Lucian setting another purple sector by only 2,000 this time.
So he has lost a little bit of pace, but only a few thousandths of a second. If he has a good exit out of here, it will be pole position. Looked solid enough as he crosses the line in pole position.
By 73 hundredths of a second.
So he picked up
takes
almost
provisional
a 10th.
Pole position.
Yeah, picked up almost a 10th out of that exit. So that was a really good exit from Illusion there as he just slides there into that Gonna see him. Maybe he's gonna go for a second consecutive push attempt, but he did slide into turn one a bit. So I wonder if he's gonna take it easy, burn up all the fuel.
Trying to one-up Flaring Ace's special drifting maneuver that he pulled into turn one.
Oh yeah. Boita just set a really good lap too, as he is only oh wow, so it's 700ths above and below are the gaps from Alex here. 700ths to Boita, 700ths to Illusion. This is an extremely tight qualifying session for the top three.
I mean, the top three spots are separated by less than, or just under 0.2 of a second. Boita goes very wide there.
Oh yeah, corner, into the gravel.
Exiting the S's. That might be his lap done and dusted.
And Alex about to cross the line.
We'll see where he goes. Oh, he did not improve his time or his position.
Cigar. We got Yuki and P5.
Another one. Yuki and Aces are pretty close to each other as well for that last spawn in that second row. Yuki is actually on a purple. He just had a purple sector by 88 hundredths of a second.
We'll take a look at Yuki, as he has very, very little fuel too, so very well prepared car for this attempt, as he is approaching Spoon, the last little sector of this racetrack. We'll see what kind of lap time he can put up.
And the Evangelion themed Honda, he's going to go for it. He's got a pretty solid exit. Oh, but he goes a bit wide on the exit of the Spoon.
I think that's enough to cost him.
Now he's coming up to 130R. That might cost him a bit, we'll see, but he can still make a really good exit. He is on track to massively improve his time. That should put him into P4, but not quite high enough.
Yeah, and because these guys do not have overtake to worry about deploying on their push laps like in the Formula cars, these guys can go multiple push laps consecutively in a row here, and we might just be seeing that again here with Yuki as he approaches turn one extremely quickly. Goes a little bit wide there and he spins.
There's a slide. Unfortunate there for Yuki. He just spins it around. He was potentially going to be on a solid lap. He had some really good pace through the first two sectors last time around, but he just spins it. And that's his lap time done. We'll see where Aces does. Aces does not improve in the slightest, 3 seconds slower than his previous time. But even then, I mean, you have the top 5 drivers separated by less than a second. Or just over a second, sorry.
And so we've seen this a few times into turn one. The big slide as they just carry a little bit too much momentum into turn one. It's a tricky corner.
That's what I was saying earlier with you gotta just, it's a very tricky track, guys. I mean, if you carry too much throttle into one specific sector, then you're off into the gravel. We're seeing it earlier. I mean, we've seen it like 3 or 4 times today with, like you mentioned, drivers just sliding into turn one and just absolutely losing any bit of traction they had.
Quite a big
Something I do want to draw attention to is that also, I know we were talking about, actually now with the top 5 are separated by under a second, as Spillane goes ahead and improves. Another slide
also
again.
Almost drifts at the exit of turn one as he gets on the throttle on the curb there. So there are different ways you can initiate a slide.
Good time. Yeah, so now we have the top 5 separated by under a second here. The top 3 under 0.2 of a second as we approach the dying minutes of qualifying here. Boita is showing some very good tire warming technique as he begins his push lap.
Yeah, minute 20 left in this session, so that should be enough time for most of the cars who are on track to cross the line one more time, and once you cross the line, then the clock hits 0, you can finish your lap out. And we got Illusion on a big improvement this lap here. He is up 0.4 of a second on this lap right now.
He's looking to lock in pole position.
Yeah, looking to increase his margin of pole position here as we are approaching Spoon, the last few corners. Into the braking zone.
Loses a little bit of traction there going into the spoon, but he comes out perfectly okay, it seems. Getting a bit on the rumble strips there, but he's got a great exit coming up to 130R. Probably the most famous corner on this track.
So he loses about a tenth and a half.
3/10.
But yeah, it's still a bigger margin than it was before. I think that wide exit probably cost him that tenth, but as long as he has a good exit here, that should increase his advantage. And it looked like a good exit indeed. Keeps it tight to the wall as he crosses the line. With 2/10, he lost a little bit more time again, but still increasing his gap pretty significantly. 3/10, that's the biggest gap we've had in quali all day between these top cars.
Yeah, but does Alex have an answer? He's on his lap. He does not. He is a second off the pace. We're out of time here, so that's Alex's qualifying done. What about Boita?
He touches the gravel a little bit.
See if it's enough to get a front row position here as he exits the final corner of this track.
Good evening to William Boita in the chat, brother of Nicholas Boita.
He's up in the P2!
Wow, that's quite a lap right there. A tenth
Boita
above
knocks
Alex.
into P2.
That's a front row start from Boita, our race winner from earlier this season. We'll see if he can turn that into another victory here today. There is no whiteout to contend with as far as raw pace goes, so this is going to be a wide open race between Illusion, Boita, Alex, and Nuco isn't here either, and so that's another top car that won't be vying for that. So there are opportunities to be had here today for some of these cars starting near the top.
Indeed, yeah. So Boita, he had pretty much, as soon as he crossed that line, he had P2 locked in, as even before then, Alex was a second off of his pace, and as he crossed the line, he was 2 seconds off of his lap time. He's not going to prove his place or his position. There's nobody else on a flying lap, so that is qualifying wrapped up here in Suzuka. Illusion taking pole position, followed by Boita, Alex, Yuki, Flaring Aces, Spillane, Artura, Kemazure, and JD Killswitch. That was a tight qualifying throughout most of that session.
That's an excellent quality.
A monster lap there to seal the deal.
Yeah, that was quite impressive for everyone. Good quality.
Indeed.
Looks like we got 50 seconds left on the runoff timer here to let the people finish their final laps, but it seems as though everyone are either in the pits or on a cool down lap, so we're just waiting for the session to conclude, and then it will switch over to the race.
Yep, and we're in for a spicy race here today.
Yeah, Whiteout pointing out the tire wear harsh here, and so if we have harsh tire wear, then that means Boita is, got a big advantage as far as anything related to tire wear. Boita has proven that he is quite the tire whisperer, thoroughly earning that title in every single race of this season, just having better tire wear, better management, and thus opening up more strategic options for him. And he has chosen the correct strategy option, given that multiple times too. So he's got the strategies in his head. He's got the tire wear ability. And congratulations to Illusion, who's in the chat right now as well, taking a moment to visit us here in the stream. Congratulations on your pole position, and best of luck to you in the race, man.
Agreed. So I definitely do not foresee a zero stop at all, because this track will burn through tires very quickly, as we have seen through qualifying. Illusion has got to take a bathroom break, as it is understandable. You definitely do not want to wet yourself while driving, because that just sucks. And you could definitely take a avoiding measure when it comes to that. We have fixed tire wear, so that is definitely going to play a factor in this race. Today we have 26 laps here around Suzuka, so this is going to be fun.
Absolutely.
So while we wait for this race to get back underway, so B23, how was your Thanksgiving?
Oh,
And
it was
did you
quite
have
good.
turkey?
I did have turkey.
Beautiful.
I have to. I'm not
I
one
mean,
of
yeah, if
these
you don't have
people
turkey, it's
that,
just wrong.
yeah, goes out of my way to have something that's not turkey on Thanksgiving. I gotta stick with the turkey. All the traditional regular stuff you'd expect was there. But my favorite, always, when it comes to Thanksgiving foods, is the deviled eggs. That's my thing.
Interesting. Yeah, we did not have that, but we had I mean, we had some pretty good food too. I will die on the hill that while unconventional, grilling your Thanksgiving turkey is a viable option because it comes out extremely good and it's pretty easy to do. Just got to keep it at 300 and then just let it do its thing. So back onto the pit strategy side of things. Alex actually brings up a good point. Are we even going to see drivers taking at least a little splash of fuel before we get going in today's race? Or, I mean, during the race? We're
You
going to see
know, that is
drivers
a good
taking
point.
gas in their pit stop.
I'm not sure. We haven't really seen too much gas come into play from previous rounds, but then again, they try to measure it to where it kind of cuts it close. And just because the fuel consumption is slightly different from track to track, just based on the way that you're revving the gears out, it could come into play. Just because it hasn't before doesn't mean that it won't. So we definitely could see that. And if they do have to take fuel, it probably will only be a little bit, just to stay on the safe side. Um, Last time out at Monza, I know it was FGT different series, but that's also another series where usually you don't have to worry about fuel, but most cars were taking fuel. I almost ran out of fuel, but I was short shifting for like my whole second stint with that in consideration and didn't have to. So there might be a little bit of user management involved as well in order to uh, keep yourself from having to take extra fuel and spend that little extra time in the pits. And we're getting R's in the chat from our drivers indicating that they are ready to race. So we're going to have some action starting up here very quickly. And before we get started here, the race is about to start. Reminder to everyone, this is the finale of the GT500 series, and you will want to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at Grand Prestige League because our main flagship series will be returning in 1 month after this series concludes. But we still have this final race as it is about to begin.
Yep. I realize
There's
my mic
lights.
does all the time. We have those 5 red lights ready to go out.
Oh,
And
looks
it's
like a false
lights
start.
out and away we go! We are live here at Suzuka, and a great start from Lucian there. Boyd's thinking about going around the outside. He is hustling Lucian. Both front runners got a great start. As Boyta does go a bit wide, a little bit of contact there with Yuki. As the commentator's curse strikes.
Yeah.
Alex is in the back of the pack now.
Yeah.
Oh
it was
no!
almost and Boyta off. Boyta got pushed off there. Yeah,
I did
Boyta's
see a
in the
Nissan
gravel.
into the sand.
Now we got Boyta and Alex fighting at the back of the grid. We didn't think we would see this. We thought maybe they would fight, but not at the back.
Shenanigans.
Oh,
Turn
man.
1 shenanigans happens, dude.
Yeah, and so it looked like it was a false start from Alex as I saw his car just roll off out of his grid box a little bit just before the lights went off. We got Declan and Pixel fighting for P2 here as Declan takes it into the hairpin there with Artura just behind in his highest position of the season.
Indeed. And also, you got to remember earlier, Yuki also did go off there a little bit, which opened the door up for Declan to go ahead and move into that P2 position. But Lucian is just going to his best to cruise off into the sunset as the Norwegian driver gets the exact start that he wanted. As we see Aces and Killswitch here at 6th and 7th, potentially battling for a position swap here.
Oh, wheel to
They're
wheel.
going to go into a 130R. Clean driving from the pair of them.
Yeah, we got
but Yuki
three
and
groups.
Declan are battling it out.
We got 3 groups of 2 going wheel to wheel throughout the final sector there. Yeah, big long straight with Yuki just behind. There's going to be big opportunities for overtaking on this lap for both cars here. Yuki pulling aside as we go into turn 1.
Oh, contact between Alex and Killswitch, but doing a little bit of bump drafting here like we're on a NASCAR track. He moves up into P7, almost taking out Flaring Aces in the process, but thankfully he does not, or that might have just been a bit of connectivity, making it look more severe than it normally would. But great stuff there as the battle for P2 still commences, and Lucian just slinks off into the Japanese Somerset.
Yeah, there's lots of battles all up and down the track for track position, hard fought, and that is going to be a huge advantage for Illusion up front as he gets to just extend his lead, already up to 3 seconds now, because it is a Sunday cruise for Illusion. He's starting on the medium tire too, so he's going to have a long cruise out there in front. Let's see what the tires on most of these cars are. So far, I'm seeing all mediums. Yeah, every single car on the track is on the medium, so I think that's the first time all season where every single car has chosen to start on the same compound.
Yeah, but here's the question though, how long are we going to see these mediums last? I mean, I think they may be able to get close to half distance, but I just don't think it will be enough to get much more than half a race distance here. They will take another tire. There are no tire requirements, so you don't even need to take a pit stop if you don't want to or you don't need to. But these tires are definitely going to fall off a cliff well before we hit lap 26.
Yeah, 26
Probably
on the
before we even
mediums
hit
hard.
lap 15.
Yeah. Yeah, Yuki's staying right in it, right behind Declan here as they go back onto the main straight again. Another opportunity for Yuki. Let's see if he's close enough to close in with the slipstream. It looks like he is.
He's going to go for it, potentially. He decides better against it. He decides not to risk taking both cars out. And also, it's only lap 3, so you got to manage those tires quite a bit to get to a good spot in this race before you can make a pit stop.
Yeah, so Alex and Boita out of position as far as their pace would indicate, although they're battling with each other so hard that they're not even breaking into the field right now. They're still in the back as Illusion in the front extends even farther.
Yep, so right now we're going to keep an eye on this battle between Boita and Alex. 2 cars that were 2nd and 3rd on the starting grid, but through an incident there now at the very back of the pack, as Boita, I think, he's just getting better exits than Alex is, so he's extending that gap ever so slightly to the German driver in the back.
Whoa, what happened here?
Yeah, some incident must have happened
Declan
where...
is P4 now, way off of Yuki now, as Declan was looking to control that.
And Flaring Aces is up now into P3, got a good distance away from Yuki. Yuki right now has just got clean air and a solid drive. Nobody really pressuring him at the moment, but he's also not pressuring anyone himself. So right now, both Lucian and Yuki are pretty much just in their own lanes at this point. As Spillane must have taken a spill somewhere and just ended up behind Aces. Artura gets a little bit aggressive there.
Oh yeah,
he
lots
forces
of
Kevin
elbows.
Shove.
Oh, and he
contact.
spins. Yeah, he almost lost it.
Boita runs into Kamashura as Kamashura goes off the track at the chicane. He just unintentionally hit Boita with a maneuver 7 and just got T-bone there. That's going to be nightmare fuel for Boita there.
Okay, that looked dirty. That was dirty. That was dirty.
Very naughty there from Alex as he's up in the P5, but being hyper aggressive on the defense. Now we know Alex is an aggressive driver. We've seen it and through all of his bowling incidents, usually at lap 1, but we know he's quick, but he is aggressive.
Very
Spillane
bad
has
boy.
closed that gap. Declan has closed the gap up to Aces, but Aces is losing time to Yuki in the front. Just taking a look at the lap times here. Actually, because of some contact, Declan was 5 seconds off of Ace's last lap, so there must have been some sort of spin, maybe battling Yuki there. We'll have to check it out again post-race, but Declan has gotten a lot closer in the Exodus Racing Honda to the Sonic the Hedge Honda. I came up with that on the spot. I'm actually partially proud of myself for that. But moving on to the more important task. Ace has got a better exit coming out of the spoon, coming up to 130R. There won't be an overtake here, but I can foresee an overtake attempt potentially being lined up as we go to the start-finish straight on this track after the final chicane. As Lucian currently has the fastest lap of the session right now. Yuki is losing a little bit of time to Lucian, but also gaining time from Flaring Aces, so they're both in a race of their own at the moment. Spillane is going to go for a move. Aces loses it. He just pushes to the limit of traction, goes over the edge, and Declan Spillane is back into P3. He's back on the podium.
Yeah, and he's got good pace, too. Let's see if he can close back up to Yuki and try to take that position back, because when they were fighting each other, it did look like Declan was controlling that battle between the two of them.
To note, and just for some context here, the last lap of Declan was a 159 compared to Yuki's 151.4. And he's looking to set an improved fastest lap for himself. A personal best lap for Yuki is on the cards here. But nobody is touching Lucian here. So here's something to note too. I'm going to just look through these drivers' fast times real quick. Lucian right now has the fastest lap out of every driver on track by nearly a second.
No,
The
yeah.
closest driver to a closest driver with a closest lap is Declan with a 159 or 150.9, while Lucian has a 150.1. So right around over 8 tenths faster than Spillane, and that was actually Lucian's last lap.
Yeah, now he's got his
on a
gap
new
up
fastest
to... Yeah,
lap,
wow.
2 seconds or 2 tenths faster. He is on a mission. He wants to claim the last win of the season.
Right on cue. He
in
knew what
that
we were talking about.
snake-themed car.
Yeah, he heard us talking about him or something as he gets that gap up to almost 7 whole seconds now. It only laps 6. He got 7 seconds worth of gap. So the pace difference has been about a second per lap on average to the whole field. As he set another purple sector 1 there, as his pace is only increasing at this point in time. Gap is increasing, pace is increasing. He's looking absolutely unstoppable right now.
Here's something to note too. So the gap, or like the pace per lap between Spillane and Yuki has closed up slightly. So now it's about 2 tenths of a second in Spillane's favor from that last lap. He set a 150.8 and Yuki put a 151.0 on that last lap. Both are on improvements to set new personal best lap times in this race we have here at Suzuka. Spillane gets a little score there on corner exit as he heads to the spoon.
Yeah, and so 2 tenths per lap, that's not a big gap difference in order to close that gap up in a reasonable amount of time, although there is enough time, even if that is the pace difference that holds for a while, there is enough time for him to catch that up and make a pass. But I think, little things happen, little slips here and there that can account for widening or shortening of the gaps by significant margins, and I'm sure that we're going to see a few of those to close it up before its natural forecasted time. Although we should be able to see a battle between these two once again before the end of the race. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'll get some comparative lap times between Yuki and Spillane as they come across the line. 150.6 for Yuki. That's his fastest lap, and a 150.4 for Spillane. So that pace gap is actually getting more and more diminished as this race goes on. Yuki just keeping more consistency while Spillane slowly falls off in terms of race pace.
Maybe Yuki hears us too as he's increasing his pace a bit there. They're very similar lap times as they came across the line.
Did we just invent the reverse commentator's curse?
Yeah, the commentator's blessing.
Yep, there we go. You know what? I have an idea. Let's just talk about Kemajor for the rest of this race, and he's going to get P1.
We can will him to the victory. Yeah, not sure what happened to Kemazur here. Maybe mistakes on his own, but unfortunate to see him in the back as he had a pretty good starting position up there into the midfield. And Kemazur always wanted to have a good anime livery himself as well with those HoloLive themes.
It's fitting.
Oh, yellow flag. It's Artura.
Flag. Oh, Artura spins round. The commentator blessing coming into effect. He moves up a spot potentially.
That's
Artura
right.
blocks him off as he gets back on track. And we're going to see a battle here for P8.
So now the real
think we did just invent the commentator blessing.
Yeah, and the main thing is our commentator blessing more powerful than the size of Artura's elbows when he gets those things out to defend? Because we've seen that he can get pretty feisty with the defense too.
I mean, it must just be something about being Dutch and being extremely good at defense.
It must be a thing. They got something in the water over there.
Yeah, I mean, every Dutch driver I've seen has had extremely good defense, so it just must be a Dutch-like gene. So if you can't defend well enough, just blame it on the Dutch, I guess.
Yeah, there's something that I always refer to as like natural European speed, and these guys got it. The Dutch guys especially.
Indeed. But right now, there is a certain Japanese driver that's making really good pace, and actually his lap time was faster than... Oh, actually, Declan fell way down. What happened there? Declan has lost several positions to Boita, Alex, and Aces. Aces coming under attack from Alex for the last remaining podium spot. Alex is wanting to disrupt the all-Honda podium we currently have. And Boita's back in play as well. What happened to Declan? Another... Oh, Alex is off the track!
Oh, yeah, there goes Alex.
Alex is way off the track now. He's trying to get his car backed up. Almost an unsafe re-entry, but no accident there. Alex just backed down at the P7, and what happened there?
It's kind of uncharacteristic from some of these guys. We're seeing a lot of mistakes being done all on their own, big-time mistakes where they spin all the way out, lose multiple track positions, including Declan, Alex. We saw it from Artura as well. Boita, I think Boita got pushed off early on in the races. Boita's now up into P4, taking huge advantage of a lot of the mistakes ahead of him and clawing back into a decent position now.
I guess the commentator curse and commentator blessing is like Florida weather. Very unpredictable and very inconsistent on what happens.
Battle between Artura and Kemazur again. And
they go to 130R. Can Kemazur make the place up into 130R? No,
Artura around the outside.
Just cuts him off. He's like, nope, I'm not done yet.
Very Fernando Alonso-esque as he goes around the outside of 130R. Said, I knew he would break because he has a wife and kids at home.
Artura keeping up. Oh, who's off now? Alex again is off.
Big time mistakes here, and it's on the straight. I wonder how that happened. Just before turn one.
Yeah, I don't know. The yellow flag would prevent Kemazur from passing Artura because that would have been a penalty because you can't overtake under yellows. But man, what happened there? His race has just gone from bad to worse. Start off at P3 and now in the far back. But Aces is on track to possibly getting his first podium of the series. Man, this has just been a wild race in terms of spins. Actually, I'm going to go back and take a look at something real quick. Yeah, if this race were to finish in the way it is now, then Flaregasis would get his first podium of the season. Actually, Yuki would too. So both Yuki and Aziz would get their first podiums of the season if this race finishes the way it is. But there is a very, very dangerous Brazilian driver chasing down Flaregasis. Sonic the Hedgehog may be, quote, the fastest thing in the universe, but he's not faster than a very angry Boita.
Yeah, and these guys, if both of them finished in the podium positions, Flaregasis and Yuki, it would be very well deserved, as they've both had excellent seasons where they've just been improving and improving. And Boita, I've noticed as far as his tire wear, is not better than anyone else's. Just about everyone's tire wear looks just about identical across the whole field. So that huge tire advantage that we're always talking about with Boita not seeming to exist today.
He's not going to let it hit that stop him, though, from trying to chase down Flaregasis. I'm sure Flaregasis in his head might be hearing the little the warning sound for when Sonic's about to be eliminated as Boita chases him down.
Yeah, and if Boita's tires are the same as everyone else's, that must mean that he's pushing super hard on these tires.
But we might see him become a true tire whisperer when it comes to the second stint. I don't know why that took so long for me to say. Just words are not wording today, apparently. But
Whisperer
anyway,
tire stint. There was a lot of ERs and S's in there. That was a tricky one. Commentary is not as easy as it looks.
If I said that too fast, it would have sounded like I was trying to attract the cap with a little.
That's right.
But anywho, that's what Boita's saying to Flaregasis to get him to come close. He said, "Come here, I want that three." Boita is going after it full force. He is channeling his Ayrton Senna right now behind the wheel of that GTR. He is the only GTR and the only non-Honda to actually win here. And he's got the position! Flaregasis goes deep into the first corner, and Boita's up at a P3.
Yeah, he was closing that gap slowly and steadily, very, very consistently, just closing, put a lot of pressure on Flaregasis, but then Flaregasis makes just one little mistake, not even a big one, just not maximizing the exit of turn one, and Boita takes the opportunity and does a perfect exit, flies on the inside and takes the position now up into the podium spots. Well earned from Boita, especially having been pushed off on lap 1, going all the way to last place, and now here he is in the podium positions by lap 11 of 26. Very impressive drive by Nicolas Boita once again.
Yeah, we've always talked about Nicolas Boita being an absolute tire a tire whisperer. I promise that time was intentional. But we know this man is very good on his tires, very rapid, especially when he's fired up and on the charge like he is now. But what lap are you expecting to see the first round of pit stops happening?
You know, that is a tough one. I haven't seen any tire data coming into this particular round as I usually do, but just based on how the tires are wearing already so far, I would think that they're starting to get into the drop-off phase of these tires already, starting around now-ish. And so they could pit anywhere from probably 15, 16. They could probably push it farther back if they wanted to, but at that point would probably be a detriment to their overall race time, as they would be bleeding lap time to others on newer sets of tires. So I'm expecting the pit window to start opening up here around lap 15 and to stay open for a handful of laps, maybe 3 laps or so.
Yeah, so that's the thing too, because I mean, we mentioned earlier that like raw pace is definitely a major factor when it comes to winning a race. As we see from Lucian right now, 10-second gap to Yuki, and Yuki's got about a 8-second gap to Boita there. So pace is a factor, but strategy plays a big part in it too. That's why I always say that strategy is about half the race. Because racing is as much of a physical sport as it is a mental sport. Got to keep full concentration and always be thinking about every single factor that is possible on this track. Like, in some cases, you might even have to think like, oh, it might rain. We're not going to see rain here today. But in a lot of races, especially if you're like in the middle European areas of the world, you're just going to have to constantly think about potential weather changes. So, gotta always have a sharp mental edge as well as a sharp driving edge when you're racing. Especially when you have a field as talented as this one that we're commentating for today.
That is right. And Whiteout in the chat pointing out to keep an eye on Artura and Alex. That if and when Alex is able to close that gap up to Artura, that there might be a very spicy battle between those two, as they've had their share of contact between each other. Not sure they're too happy with each other in this race so far, so that might be a good one to keep an eye on if they do end up getting close together.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, another thing also, I mean, we both know that these drivers are very aggressive and very defensive when it comes to their driving. So will that lead to another battle and another point of contact where both these drivers are going to take themselves out again? But we can't count out Kemazur, because Kemazur is kind of closing that gap up to Alex ever so slightly. He was about a second up, and commentator's curse kicked in again as Kemazur breaks a bit too late and goes into the runoff of that chicane there. So taking into account Artura and Alex's lap times, Artura is a bit over a tenth faster on that last lap compared to Alex.
Well, impressive stuff from Artura then, as he's holding off the pace of Alex behind.
Unfortunately, Flaring Aces does have a half-second penalty that he is about to serve on the exit of the Spoon.
Yeah, and that's too bad, because he was keeping good pace with Boita there for a while.
He still has a pretty good gap to Declan, though, but it is, yeah, Boita or one of the three makes a monumental error, or even worse, a disconnect. Then Ace's chances of a podium might have just went bye-bye.
Yeah, and Declan's race been an interesting one, as he's been slinking up and down the order. As we got our first pit stop, and our first pit stop is Boita. Kind of unusual to say. We'll see what tire he hops on. Yeah, lap 13, a little bit earlier than I expected.
I mean, earlier, I'd be surprised if we even got to the halfway point of this race. And we did. We got mediums. A little over halfway.
Yeah, and he did take another set of mediums, so that is, I guess, the strategic choice a lot of these drivers can make right now. Do you hit around now and go 50-50 race distance on two sets of mediums, or do you push this set of mediums a bit farther so that you can open up the chance to use a soft tire for your final stint with the car light on fuel?
That really depends on how you're driving at the moment, because if the car feels good, if you feel like you're getting all the traction you possibly can out of these corner exits, and then you honestly could push all the way to, say, maybe lap 18, 19, maybe lap 20, and then box in for the soft tires and just gun it. Because what that also allows you to potentially do is go for that extra point of fastest lap.
That's right. And plus, it does look like at this stage, with Boita being the only one on brand new tires, that he is undercutting the entire field at the moment.
Yeah, because he only lost 2 positions to Spillane and Aces, and he'll regain those 2 positions easily after the stop. And he's still got a massive 15-second gap to JD Killswitch behind him. So Boita's really under no pressure. He's got clean air in front of him, a fresh new set of tires that we know he can nurse on his day. And I think Boita's in a really good spot. Aces is going to be the second one to pull the trigger on a pit stop. Those Bridgestone tires coming out into the lane as he pits in. Declan is going to pull in for his Goodyear tires right behind him. And Boita's passed both of them now. He's still 23 seconds off. And I'm actually going to watch this pit stop here from Aces. Aces actually going to get some fuel too.
Yeah, Declan in the pits, throwing Aces in the pits. And it might not have seemed like it at the time, but Boita, when he went to the pits, he was back in P5, but his battle was with Yuki. He's trying to cut into Yuki's gap so that by the time Yuki takes his pit stop, he should be ahead.
Spillane and Aces get 3-second penalties each
and
for cutting the pit lane.
Yeah, that's the worst penalty.
That is so heartbreaking for the two.
That's kind of interesting because I don't feel like it's a particularly difficult pit lane to enter or exit, so I'm not sure. Like, it's a pretty unnecessary penalty to pick up there.
I saw Aces do it on the exit of the pit lane. He just cut across just a tinge too early. And we both know that Gran Turismo is picky when it comes to these pits and these pit lane exits. I mean, Road Atlanta is probably by far the most infuriating one to go to.
Oh yeah, sometimes it kind of points you towards the line when you exit too. I'm not sure if this is one of those, but yeah, Gran Turismo is very temperamental with the track limits that it chooses to enforce and not enforce. Sometimes you can get away with some that you expect not to, and other times it's just extremely sensitive. And now, very critically, we have Yuki into the pit, so now we're going to see if Boita undercut Yuki by enough. I don't remember what the gap between them was by the time Boita went in, but I guarantee that that gap will have been cut down, as there was a 3-lap difference where Boita was on brand new tires, where Yuki was on very heavily worn tires. And here comes Boita in the background.
Just ahead of Boita, and now we got a battle on our hands. The undercut working wonders for Boita right now. Lucian's got to pit next, and I think he'll up still a good distance away from Yuki and Boita, but I think he's going to end up right there. Boita does have the fastest lap of this race too, with a 1:49.2.
Yeah, and Illusion has well earned himself a very comfortable pre-pit stop at this point. He can go into the pits and come out into P1 with a big gap still. He is managing this race from the front very beautifully.
Yeah, but so is Boita. Boita's back on a hard charge. He's looking to try to take on Yuki now and put that Nissan up into P2. And actually, Lucian is coming up to a car that he is potentially going to lap if he goes like for another lap or so. But I think Lucian is going to box here to get a fresh set of rubber and try to go to the end. So I wonder, is he going to take mediums, or is he going to do what you were talking about earlier and go for a soft? I'm thinking medium personally, but we'll see what he does. Oh, he stays out!
Stays out, yeah. Illusion always known for going really long on his opening stints.
Yeah, so that's a 150.3. We'll see what the time gap is to Yuki and Boita, who just recently pitted in for fresh rubber. A 150.6 for Illusion. And this gap is closed up significantly between Boita and Yuki. That undercut working really well for Boita. Trying to get back into P2 like he started this race. Yuki's about to cross the line. Oh, that's an outlap, so I guess those times are really incomparable. But a 49.8. So he's about a second faster than Illusion is at the moment. Boita now on 2-lap-old tires. He's about a second faster than Illusion was on that last lap. He is coming up the traffic though, so Kemishore is already being shown the blue flag, and the HoloLive GTR will have to move at the most opportune time to let Illusion pass. Arturo is going to be the next one into the pits. The Yokohama tires about to be fitted onto the Honda. As we see, he's going to peel off into the pits. We'll see if Alex is going to join him. Alex actually pulled quite a bit of weight from Alex, so Alex is just struggling on this race.
Yokohama's, I see.
And he's going to get a little bit of extra fuel as well. Alex is going to stay out. He'll be ahead, but I think he might actually... Actually, no. Alex already pitted, so there's a massive time gap between Arturo and Alex, so my mistake. He's not struggling. He just pitted in earlier.
Oh, and our
now
race
Illusion
leader
is going to fire off into the pits.
Yeah.
Also on a set of Bridgestones.
So now we got two different battles that are closing into each other after their pits have leveled out. That would be for P2 between Yuki and Boita, and the battle for P7 between Artura and Alex. And the battle for P2 seems to be just a little bit closer as Illusion comes out on soft tires, so he's going for the full beans business here.
He wants that fastest lap back.
Absolutely. Yeah, oh yeah, I see Boita took it. 49.2, that's a good time too.
Indeed, yeah, and now he's chasing down Yuki, trying to get a good run up. Yuki was actually just barely slower there, only a tenth slower. Boita goes wide.
Yeah, that cost him quite a bit there. A few seconds at least.
Yeah, it was a 149.6 for Boita and a 149.7 for Yuki there. So the lap times are getting close. Yuki is managing what is effectively his home race to near perfection.
Oh yeah, home race for Yuki. Virtual home Grand Prix. And wonderful position for that too. You always want to do well in front of your home crowd, virtual or otherwise, and P2 is an amazing result for that.
Oh yeah, especially because it'll be his first podium of the season. Excellent stuff there from Yuki. Boita is going to try to make that charge back, but I think he just went, I think that going wide into turn one just kind of messed up his race.
Keeping an eye on Alex here, see if he can close in on Artura, but he doesn't seem to be able to at the moment. Artura is actually holding the pace gap very steadily.
Yeah, the other Evangelion themed Honda here today is keeping Alex at bay. Alex qualified P3 just behind Boita and Illusion, but after a series of incidents, actually, wait a minute. Oh, there's a track limits penalty applied to Artura.
Good news for Alex. Exactly what he was hoping to see is now he's starting to close in even closer. Yeah, and that's very good work from Artura, who has been struggling this season a bit, and Alex, one of the faster cars on the grid, also struggling in his own way, but not for pace necessarily. He is faster in general, but not today so far. We've seen Artura really hold his own pace-wise, but now he's right in the clutches of Alex. As soon as he's going to serve this penalty, we might not be able to see the battle that we were hoping for just based on the gaps here. No, and he slides past with ease. So unfortunately, unless Artura can battle this back, we're going to see the battle we were hoping to see there. Well, that Whiteout especially was hoping to see.
Yeah, right now, taking a look at the last two laps between Boita and Yuki, there was about a second and a half difference between the two. I mean, Yuki actually had a really good lap last time out. He had a 150.0, and that's pretty good. I think that's about the average lap pace that I've got in the earlier stints. But Illusion's, he's currently, if I saw that correct, I think he's 8/10 faster than the fastest lap. He's going for a 148, maybe a 147. It's a 148.4. It's just under 8/10 faster than the last fastest lap. That's the soft tire compound speaking.
Yeah, and Artura on a soft tire. I just now noticed that too, as he sets a personal best sector. So he is on his personal best lap as he's trying to close back in. He actually is closing that gap to Alex a little bit here. Yeah, close that gap, Artura, and show us something.
I'll check the tire data. Yeah, Alex is he's on more mediums. He pitted in much earlier than Artura. So Artura making the first stint go extremely long and doing the illusion strat of pitting in for a soft tire compound.
Yeah.
So we might actually get the battle that Whiteout's been wanting all along.
Yeah, Artura and Illusion, the only two cars running the soft tire right now as well. Everyone else on the medium. And I believe everyone has pit so far, so this should be the final stint for everyone.
Indeed, the two Exodus Racing drivers, one's yeah, I mean, they're on two opposite sides of the grid, but they're also the only drivers running the soft tire compound, so it's interesting to see what's going to happen here between these two drivers. And right now, the battle for P7 might actually start heating up here.
Yeah, personal
as Artura
best.
is chasing down Alex right now. This has the works of being something incredibly spicy, as Artura is going to have more grip through that inside or on these corners because of that soft tire compound. And he's just about under a second now. He's keeping it tight through the S's, and that's exactly where Artura is going to succeed there. As we look for any other battles, Boita is closing the gap. Oh wow, and Boita's setting a rapid lap. It's a 149.5 versus a 149.9, about 4/10 faster. A little under 4/10 actually, about 3/10. But
They're
still, it
in.
is rapid stuff. Artura and Alex, they're about to go for it. We're going to see battle wants to exit the spoon. If Artura can't get a better exit, he can move on into P7. This is a battle we've been wanting to see for a while now. They get similar exits. I think Artura just goes a bit wider.
Yeah, you got to be careful on the. There's a little curb that you can get onto, and then there's like an additional curb that's that green stuff, and it's that additional stuff on the outside is way slipperier. It does not give you the grip on exit that you need, and you will lose a lot of time, especially as there's a long straight right after that exit.
Indeed, but right now, actually I think Alex got into that a bit, as now the gap is only 3/10 of a second.
In the slip.
I see a move up into turn one.
Yeah, cutting the toe is Alex here, as Artura is being forced to take the outside line, not quite close enough to make a move into turn one, but stays close enough at the exit of turn one to make a move into the S's.
We've seen some crazy moves into the S's in various other racing series. I've seen one here, it doesn't look like it, but I can foresee an attempt at least being made in the extreme near future.
Yeah, moves can be made into the S's, but not usually. Oftentimes, that's where you lose someone. It's really hard to follow and stay close to the leading car as you go through the S's, but he did a good job, but he gets squirrely as he goes into the gravel and spins out.
And that's the battle over.
Yeah, but it was a really good effort from Artura, especially to stick with him through the S's. That's really difficult to do, and having a hard time turning his car back the right way as well. Very unfortunate stuff there from Artura. It was a good battle. We at least got a little bit.
Now the battle we're going to focus on is
this for P2 is the closest
Yuki
one.
And Boita.
Yeah. Only a second and a half separates these two cars, but it's a bigger gap than a second and a half might seem like, because these guys are just on it.
Yeah, so just comparing lap times, once again, I know we've done that a lot, but it's one of the best ways to kind of gauge the relative paces of these cars. Yuki had a 149.4 and Boita had a 149.6, so about a tenth and a half faster for Yuki there as he's trying to fight to keep second place. As we see now, the gap is under a second now. Yuki does go a tad wide, but so does Boita. Both these drivers giving it everything to second place in this race. I mean, I think either way, Yuki is going to have his first podium of the season, but it would be so much sweeter to get a P2 versus a P3 as your first podium.
Absolutely. At Suzuka, no less. And it's been quite a racing day for Yuki. As I know he was just doing a 24-hour Le Mans race earlier today.
To get a P2 after that, especially, man, That is going to be incredibly impressive. His race has already been incredibly impressive. Let's take a look at these times again. So this time, Boita was a bit faster, a little of 149.9 versus a 140 or 150.1. So, I mean, these drivers are keeping it relatively close to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, another thing about that, doing that 24-hour race, he was doing his stint. It was a 3-hour stint at about 4 p.m. It's like early after evening kind of time in Japan. But now it's 10 a.m. here on Pacific Standard Time in the west coast of the United States. Over there, it is 2 a.m. right now. And he's already been racing for hours and hours and hours today. So he is doing a really impressive job. I'm sure he's extremely tired. And but only less than a second separates these two cars now. So the job is not done yet. 3 laps to go to secure that P2.
Yeah, I mean, pulling a stint in an endurance race, in general, regardless of what position you actually finish, is tricky as is, and it takes a lot out of you, both, you know, physically and mentally. And then to come jump into another race at 2 in the morning after an endurance, quite impressively, is just insane. This man does not get enough praise as a driver.
Yeah, seriously impressive, and he's improved steadily over the years. Like every series he's been in, he just gets a little better, a little better, a little faster, a little more consistent as well on top of everything. His racecraft is good, and now he's looking like he's one of the top drivers in the top tier in what I consider the top league in Gran Turismo. And before he was a part of the championship team,
regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a couple seasons ago, he was P2 in SWT to his teammate to win the lower tier championship, and now he is solidly was in the midfield last season of the top class, and now he's racing with these cars, very different cars albeit, but now he is in the top of this class with this car. So we'll see if in January when the Super Formula season starts up, if he can really be a true top driver in the top class, WEC and GPL here next season.
Yeah, you guys are definitely going to want to subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss any of our future races, especially when it comes to Super Formula. The top class in GPL, we have our SRT and WEC races, 2 categories, and a lot of good racing, so you definitely want to stick around for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully we'll have a calendar reveal here in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely, too. And plus, as I mentioned, that I really truly believe that the top tier of the Super Formula Series in GPL is the most difficult, most highly competitive, most professional league that exists in Gran Turismo, especially in the category of Super Formula racing. These are the most talented drivers in the world.
Super Formula in general is a very underappreciated car category, both in Gran Turismo and the real world. And they're not easy cars to drive either, especially on certain tracks. So the fact that these drivers can come in and week out and pull out performances like these is just testament to that Grand Prestige League has some of the most talented and decorated drivers that I think would even give some of the Gran Turismo World Series drivers a run for their money.
Absolutely. I really think they would too. You look at lap times, certain little events where lap times come up, you see those, the typical Gran Turismo World Series drivers listed in the top 10, top 100 global times always. Then you'll sprinkled in there, you'll see people like Whiteout in there, Viper in there, Illusion, Nuco, even King No Skill, who's not racing here, but I see him in those top 10 lap times all the time. And so, yeah, these guys are truly some of the top guys in the entire world at this.
Indeed, and right now, you know, Yuki's not in any position to win the championship for GT500 because that was decided last race out. But he is putting on a champions level drive, and so is that man who's about to start in the 26th and final lap of this race, Illusion. he's had a quiet race, honestly. We haven't really spoken a whole lot about him just because he's off doing his thing, taking a casual Sunday cruise as you described it earlier. And yeah, he's on the final tour of this track.
Oh yeah, and that's how you want it. You don't want too much attention when you're in P1. You just want to, be ignored as much as possible because that means things are going well. If we're looking at you in P1, that means it might not be going so well.
That is definitely true. And I mean, I don't see any other battles brewing, but the battle for P2 starts for one last time on the final lap of this race. An excellent drive from both Yuki to keep the position and hold it throughout the duration of this race, and Boita to come back into a podium spot from a lap 1 incident and to climb back up into a podium spot. So this is just extraordinary stuff from both of these drivers here today.
Yeah, and it is really good to see Boita be able to recover back into this position because even though he had the rough start, I do think this is about his natural position is P3, P2. I think that's where he would have finished either way. So it's good to see him come back and finish where his driving says he deserves to be.
Indeed. And as he comes around, he's only got about 4 more corners to go, and Lucian is going to win the final race of the season here in the Grand Prestige League.
We just watch Illusion as we take him through the final chicane and take him over the line to win this race, the final round in the inaugural season of the GPL GT500. It is won by Illusion. Congrats to Illusion. And our world champion of this series is Whiteout, who is not participating today, but he's in the chat, so everyone can say congratulations to Whiteout for winning the championship of this inaugural season. The first time we've tried a new season. And congrats, of course, to our race winner, Illusion. Amazing race from you. And in his home race, virtual or otherwise, Yuki comes home to take P2 as Boita crosses the line with a track limit at the very end. I believe he just grabbed. Excellent recovery drive from Boita. Once again, our tire whisperer of the season. And Flaring Aces in a quiet P4, very comfortable P4 with huge gaps in front and behind, claims that P4. Declan with a very interesting race, a solid performance, but I think the experience maybe held him back as he was slinking up and down the grid throughout the race, but then it kind of stabilized at around this P5 region. Also huge gaps in front and behind for P5, so very comfortable P5 here for Declan, the Irish driver, who is a well-accomplished karting driver in real life out there in Ireland as he crosses the line in P5. Solid drive.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah, last couple of drivers to cross the line here. Apparently Artura and Kem's race is already over as they were lap traffic. Hill switch exiting the final chicane for the final time here as he crosses the line to take P6, and that relieves our final driver on the lead lap, Alex, as he crosses the line to take P7. And that does it.
The inaugural GT500 championship is wrapped up for 2024, and your winner is that man right there, Illusion, in the Honda. Excellent drive from our race winner here today.
Excellent.
He just controlled the race from start to finish. Well done.
I'll see if he wants to interview. I know that Yuki told me just before the race started, he said he wants to give it another try at interviewing. He double-checked his settings and saw the problem this time, so.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and try to get both of them in here. At least we'll get Yuki. And then that will be it for the GT500 series.
Yeah, we'll see if we get a response on response from Illusion. Boita might not be too happy with Yuki about something that happened at the start. Maybe it was Yuki that pushed Boita off the track, potentially. Okay, so Illusion is not too sure about his microphone, but we'll give it a try anyways. So bear with us, chat, if if it doesn't sound great, but we'll give it a try anyways here. In just a moment, giving them the invite. And there is our race winner for today, Illusion. What an excellent race. How was it out there all by your lonesome?
And a hush goes over the crowd as we await to see if we can.
Oh, I
Oh,
can
there
hear
we
you.
go.
Oh, I'm not sure. I can hear you.
Let me check.
Oh, a tourist says no sounds. Oh man, very weird. All right.
It
Well, I
could
do
just
have
be PlayStation
one
doing PlayStation
question
things.
for you that I can relay to them either way, though. The option to go from mediums to soft, almost the entire field went from medium to medium. Was that planned beforehand? And did you already know like how that would work out for you? Yeah, P1, I'd be happy with that too. Yeah, so excellent. Yeah, very good race from you and a very good series all the way through. For sure. Do we have an idea when the schedule will be released for the audience? Yes. Excellent. All right. Well, thank
We
you
look
so much for
forward to
coming
seeing
through.
you. Take care. You definitely earned it. And just enjoy your break.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yep. Good to go. And I sent one to Yuki real quick too to see if he wants to get in here for a quick moment. He did say that he double checked his settings, like I said, so hopefully it works this time. You guys in the chat, let us know if it
Oh,
works, how the audio
there's.
is. We do have a Yuki in the chat now. Yuki, can you hear us and can we hear you?
Uh, uh, I think so. Can
All
you hear me,
right.
guys?
Yeah, I can hear you. Chat, let us know if you guys can hear our podium finisher. So how was the race out there? What happened on lap one? It seems like you and Boit are having a little discussion in the chat there.
Yeah, well, I think I don't know on my POV, I didn't touch him. I think it's a Wi-Fi issue.
Yeah,
But if I touch him, then it's my fault. I think I deserve the penalty, but at least I got podium. P3 it's fine. P2 is fine.
for sure. We have seen lag contact where from one person's perspective there's no contact, but from another car's perspective there is contact. We did see that he was pushed off in the beginning of the S's, but we couldn't really tell who did it though. So maybe there was a bit of lag involved there as well. But how was that battle? You really held your own as far as the pace goes. How was the battle at the end of the race there
A battle. Well,
with Boita? Not much of a battle, but keeping him at
no,
bay.
yeah, it was not so much. Well, I was driving like a grandpa, so I was driving so slow. Yeah, well, that's it.
Yeah. And this is your virtual home Grand Prix as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much track in, Japan track. Well, I didn't won or got podium, but this time I got podium, and I'm very, very glad about it.
Yeah, excellent. It was a really, really good performance from you today.
Very well deserved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
thank you.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us today. And Artura, I think, wants to give it a try too. We'll see if he wants to pop in for a moment before we
Yeah.
end it. And this is the final round of the season in this inaugural GT500 series the GPL is hosting. And so this will be our final little interviews too before we return with Super Formula action in January. And there
Can
is
I leave?
Artura.
Hello.
I'm gonna leave.
Hello. And once again, chat, if anyone's still here, wants to hear Artura, let us know if you can hear Artura fine. How was the race out there? It was a up and down race, it seemed like.
You can say that again. Yeah, well, at the start, massive mistake into turn 2. Pretty much ruined the whole thing. And then a lovely send to the shadow run by Alex. Then that was the icing on the cake, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Well, that seemed like a really hard hit into turn 1 for the kind of contact we usually see into turn 1. Was that, do you think, revenge for something that happened earlier? Did you guys get tangled up earlier than that we didn't see?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Okay.
He was mentioning in the game chat earlier that his wheel broke and now he's on a controller, so maybe a little bit of that.
That's where it
trying
broke.
to adjust to it.
I'm not buying that, to be honest.
Yeah, he said in the chat that he switched to controller.
To the fucking shadow realm and then just expect me to believe shit like that.
He even asked earlier, like, how bad was my pace on stream, and I elected not to answer that. But I mean, he had good pace in the one lap, but race pace just fell off a cliff.
Yeah,
it did. Perhaps that was when he switched to controller. He did say he switched to controller partway through the race.
Yeah.
But you had some pretty good pace yourself. I mean, you were having a really clean and tight battle with Alex for a good portion there towards the second part of that race. So, some good pace.
Yeah, well, the pace came, I think, because I wanted to get my position back because he fucking hit me on the road. That's probably why I started driving like a fucking maniac.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
And so, Super Formula, this was kind of a hard season, a struggle season a little bit, but Super Formula is the bread and butter season. I know you're much more deliberately preparing for the Super Formula series. Is there anything we can look forward to in that regard?
Yes, I want to at least be top 3 next season in the SWT class, or maybe even better.
Top 3 or better. That's excellent. We'll hold you to that.
Sure.
Excellent.
We'll be sure to try to give you the commentator blessing instead of the commentator curse.
Yeah, we discovered we have a new power. It's the commentator blessing. We willed the Kemazur into gaining a position, so it does work.
I I'm gonna hope for it then in that case.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for interviewing with us, as this is our final interview of the season, our final everything of the
me.
season. And you guys are going to want to, once again, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on our Instagram at Grand Prestige League, because we will be back in January, a very short amount of time from now, with our flagship series, the Super Formula Series. And that is the one to watch. Thank you guys very much. I've been B23 with Rekus, and we will see you guys next time.
Until next time.